Hello, everyone, and welcome to our leadership tune-up, all about hiring and onboarding. One of my biggest passions is actually the first month of our leadership development program, and it's where it all begins, right? It truly is where your new candidate is getting to test drive your company car. If you see the barcode there, you can scan that and schedule a complimentary diagnostic check-in with me, where we really dig into things like turnover, and just any concerns you've been having. We're going to kind of dig in and see if we can figure out, is communication, accountability, and recognition something that you or your leadership team may truly benefit from. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and give it a scan. And if not, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone. So today we're going to spend some time going over our introduction. We'll look at why hiring and onboarding matters, what that candidate experience can and may look like. We'll talk through quality versus quantity, and I've been a part of both. We'll look at some different screening techniques that maybe you are or are not doing. We'll talk through what that interview process should look like. We'll talk through a bit about what to do before day one, and then what the first 90 days look like. Last thing, I'll leave you with a little assignment, a conclusion, and just see if anybody has any questions for the group. So if you do not know me, this is your first time hopping on a webinar. I am Pam Fritz, the owner and founder of Savvy Resources. We have designed a company car framework to really focus on communication, the engine of your company car, accountability, the steering system that's keeping everyone on track and moving in the right direction, and finally, recognition, which is truly the fuel of your company. The thing with recognition is when I think of fuel, I think of F being future opportunities, U being understand your associates, E, make sure you're doing everyday recognition. For example, if you have an associate that's late to work oftentimes and they come in on time, recognize them for that. And then L is lead by example. Now, I want you all to take a moment, since we're going into hiring and onboarding, and think about the best onboarding experience you have ever been a part of. Go ahead and think it through. Just the company that really made you feel welcome from day one. Maybe they sent you a welcome box prior to even starting that had some company swag in it. Maybe they sent you an email welcoming you to the team and letting you know some basics of the first day. Now, really think, what is an onboarding experience that did not go the way you thought it should? Or maybe you showed up and you weren't even sure where to go or what to do or who to see. Really think through those things. Because at times we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day that we often forget to realize the importance of making sure this first impression is not just the one the candidate is giving to us, it's also the one we're giving to the candidate. So think about really why it matters. Obviously, this first impression or this test drive we're giving our candidate will definitely impact retention. You all know that turnover is extremely costly and it takes a lot of time. Turnover can cost anywhere from 20% of someone's annual salary to 200%, depending on where they fall in terms of salary when being hired. And keep in mind that engagement truly begins before day one. Oftentimes, we will see people get to where we want them to go in terms of training if their onboarding experience was top notch. And new hires decide very quickly whether an organization is the right fit for them based on that onboarding and hiring experience. Oftentimes, associates determine whether it's going to be the right place for them to stay long-term within the first week. So again, even some of these things we're going to go over today really play into that. So what is the candidate experience? So ideally, we want to make sure that we are being very timely and frequent with our interactions with our candidates and the people that are applying for our open roles. We also want to make sure that the job description is truly matching the role we want them to fill. We want to make sure that those salary ranges are posted. I know this is not a requirement in every state, but it is something that is becoming more and more prevalent. And I would guess that over time, it's going to be something mandatory everywhere. So start it off, because the thing about it is that starts someone off, a candidate, with a lot of trust in a company if they see a actual legitimate range posted. It also saves you a lot of time and saves them a lot of time. Make sure that you're being professional when interacting with these new candidates and you're respecting their time. So oftentimes we may get upset if a candidate is late for an interview, but we do not always offer them that same courtesy when they're arriving for an interview. And again, that can impact the trust that they're having for us early on. So when we think about our pitfalls, this happens more often than you may realize. There's times where we're ghosting candidates. They apply for a role and then they never hear anything back. If they do, at times it can take a very long time to hear something back. And then again, as we talked about during the ideal part, maybe these job descriptions are unclear or not realistic. And then the interview process. Really, if you're hiring for an entry level role, we should only have 2 interview experiences. Now, you may want to have 2 people in each of those groups. But again, for an entry level role, we don't want people to have to come back multiple times. We want to make it fairly quick and fairly succinct, because if they are an ideal candidate, they're doing many interviews, and you taking that extra time is going to cause them to go somewhere else. Another thing is give feedback where possible, because oftentimes people really are trying to find the perfect fit. And when we don't give them that feedback, it can make it more challenging for them. And they're really going to appreciate some type of feedback. The other thing I want to stress is truly the importance of quality over quantity. I understand that many industries, there are peak seasons and different times of the year in which a large number of candidates are needed. A large number of new associates are needed to start. I have found that if you instead focus on quality over that quantity, you will retain people for far greater time frames. Some ways to get some higher quality applicants are going to be looking for associate referrals. Look at a targeted network of people. So if you need people with a certain skill, look at different groups that you can be a part of. Again, make sure those job descriptions are very clear. Make sure the interview is very guided and you are asking the right questions to get the candidate you're looking to have. And then also make sure that there's a culture alignment. There was a time in my career where in 12 weeks, I had hired in several years in a row over 3,500 associates. At that point, you don't get the opportunity to focus on quality. And oftentimes you could have far less people and get just as much, if not more work done, if you're really focusing on that quality piece. So again, I think always keeping that in mind, that you want to have that clear focus on quality over quantity. Now we're going to look at really who and how to interview. So you post an opening. Miraculously, it's getting a ton of traction and you're getting many people applying, which is great, just what you'd like. However, you want to make sure you're letting those know that you're not proceeding, that they're not one of the candidates you're considering. And you also want to make sure that you're only interviewing the top interviewees for this role, the top candidates. So make sure you're having some knockout questions for screening. Some things I would consider for knockout questions are different things around availability, different things around scheduling. Definitely look at, if they're going to have to work weekends, are you able to work nights and weekends? Things like that can help you to find a good fit fairly quickly. Are they going to have to work outdoors? Are they going to have to drive a company vehicle? Anything that can kind of differentiate a role, you're going to want to put into the knockout questions to save, again, both the candidate time as well as yourself. Then you're really going to want to prepare for the true interview process. So know who will be interviewing the candidate and be respectful of both the interviewee and the interviewer's time. Entry-level roles, really, like I said earlier, try to limit it to 2 interviews. If you can do it in 1, even better. But I would say no more than 2 for an entry-level role. Because if there's someone that really does a great interview and you want to hire them, chances are they're interviewing other places and they'll end up going with the person that was respectful of their time and had a quicker process. So just, again, keep all of that in mind. If you can, do a walking interview. So this is something I have found to be very helpful throughout my career. It gives them, obviously, this is going to be something you may not be able to do remotely, other than maybe have them sit in while you're doing some of your core roles and have them be able to share the screen and kind of see what some of these things look like. But you do want to see, if they're here and they're in person, are they keeping pace with you? Are they acknowledging peers and other leaders as you're walking past? This is a great way to see if they might be a good culture fit, or if they're going to be, a go-getter and one to really step out and step up. So walking interviews are always key. Have your questions pre-screened and ready to roll, so that, again, if you need to find out about how they work in teams, there's some great questions that you can ask about teamwork. Make sure that you're looking at if they're going to have to interact with you or their boss frequently. What does prior experiences with those types of scenarios look like? Again, set yourself up for success and be prepared. Oftentimes we're just like running into the interview and we haven't done some of that homework, which can make it a much more challenging situation. Before day 1, this will sound new to some of you, but send out a welcome email. Ask them some pointed questions. See maybe what their favorite snack is, what they like to do as a hobby, welcome them to the team, let them know what their training plan is, who they're going to be working with on day one and where they should meet. Also, let them know what equipment they're going to have or need and make sure it's ready for them so that on day one, when they come in, you've already done the pre work and it's prepared and ready to go. And I would say day one shouldn't just be like a one communication beforehand. You can call them, you can check on them, especially if they have to go through things like a background check, a drug screening, anything like that. It could delay the start time. And you want them to know that you're invested as them as they are in you. I'm sure you've experienced, I know I've experienced where I've accepted an offer. I've signed off of it and I'm feeling confident that they gave me my start date and that's when in the day and the time and the place I should meet. But then I start to get anxious because I haven't heard anything else. And maybe it was 2 weeks out and I still believe I'm having the job. I'm still planning to attend, but there's just this little bit of uncertainty because I really haven't talked to anyone since the offer was extended and I accepted. So again, people just start to get a little anxious because they're new. They don't know anyone there. It's exciting, but it can also be a bit scary and a bit nerve wracking. So again, just think of yourself as when I started a new job, what did I love? What did I wish happened? And really put yourself in your candidate's shoes. And then in that first 90 days, again, all of this time, we're letting them test drive the car. We're letting us get the first impression of them. They're getting the first impression of us. But we're really trying to build a lot of trust within those 90 days. And we're trying to fulfill the promises that we made to them. So within 30 days, you're really going to want to assign a team trainer to them. Let them learn as much as possible while observing the behaviors they should be doing. Let them get some time to build relationships. Whether they are an entry level associate or a new leader, really that first 30 days, there shouldn't be a ton of expectations or goal setting. It should really be about just learning the company and getting to know the team. Then within 60 days, you want them to continue to practice their true job duties. They're gaining confidence. They're learning what their responsibilities are going to look like. And you're able to start giving them a bit more at this point in time. And then really when we look at 90 days, at this point, we should be able to let them contribute and do their job independently. However, we're still consistently giving them feedback or having their trainer give them feedback. But really, by the end of that 90 days, they should be up to speed for the most part, and we should be setting forth some clear goals that we expect of them in the go forward. And then it doesn't stop at the 90 days, right? We want to continue to have ongoing and regular check-ins on a cadence. And maybe that's once a month, maybe it's once a quarter. Whatever is right for you and your business, the size of the team, all of those things have to play a part in it. But you do want to have those consistently. Really think, as we're looking at hiring and onboarding, and I know I've went through a lot with you here today, but my assignment for you is really going to be putting yourself in the place of a new candidate. Right now, today, do you even know what your process is? If you're not actively involved in it, but they're hiring someone for your team, you should know what the process is. And maybe there's a part of that process that you as the leader can own. Is communication timely? Does it feel organized? Does the new candidate feel valued? Do they understand the expectations in the go forward? And then the biggest thing is, do you think that new candidate would recommend that experience to others, to include their best friend or a family member? Really put yourself in that candidate's in their shoes. Again, we are not only making an investment in them, but they are deciding whether they want to invest in us as well. Do they want to stay with us? Do they want to do a good job for us? Or is this just a way to come in and get a check until the next best thing comes along? And we want them to be engaged and interacting from day one. So keep in mind, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Make sure the test drive you are giving candidates in your company car is one that they 100% want to invest in and become a part of. Again, that trust, that communication, the accountability, the recognition, it all comes together to make them want to do a good job. When your team is trusting and thriving in your leadership, they will get so much more done for you. You will see your profits increase. You will see turnover reduce. And guess what else? You will see that they will be recommending people come work for you. And they will just want to do a good job and continue to do more within the company. So again, onboarding and hiring should be that first experience where they're like, whoa, that was unlike anything. I want to tell others about it. Then when you have the opening, it's so easy to find the right candidate because you have a reputation that you are the company people want to work for, and you are the type of leader that someone wants to work for and with.